Yes. Good morning. It is Friday. Thank you, Captain Obvious. We are we got our coffee in the mug, which is getting very popular. Make sure you hit the Teespring store to get yours today before they're out. I mean, Pale Rider's got one, Pigtail's got one, Shannon's got one. I believe Wheelburner's got one now. So it's getting pretty popular. It's kind of a big deal. And so it's Friday. I hope everyone is doing well. It's interesting how my week has turned. It's well, let me look here. I keep my dispatch on paper so I can keep track of everything. I use Post-it notes, as you can see, and I think we're at about close to $16,000 worth of freight booked today or this week between 4 drivers. So there's still money to be made. Just got to be smart about it, you know. And then I'm probably looking for something else, but that's not for a while for somebody. And then I believe I'm taking over a truck on Sunday for another carrier as far as dispatch goes. So we're going to have a good week. DIY, you do not have a mug. Why not? They're easily ordered. He needs a wrench. You know what? He does have a wrench. DIY does have a wrench. Shannon, you're silly. You're silly. All right. So let's go with the comments, and then we're gonna go over the weather first. That seems to be a hit. So anyways, it felt good to get in the truck yesterday. Went and got the trailer, took it to the shop, and they're like, it was funny. The original forecast I was watching showed that we were going to get some snow. And so I told the shop, I said, yeah, I'll come by if it's, I'm going to drop it off today and then come by Friday morning to grab it, unless the weather turns, and then I won't be here. And they're like looking at me funny, like, what the hell's wrong with you, dude? And so I get home and I'm checking the forecast, and sure enough, there ain't nothing. So I probably look like a donkey to them. So we'll go pick up that trailer, make sure my trucks are good before I go. And I was originally going to leave here at about 7, and then just go do the Friday morning coffee live from the truck. But my youngest still has to go to school, and the car's in the way, and I didn't want to bother that. And I'm just enjoying my time, drinking my coffee, in a warm house versus a cold truck. So, but we'll do that later. But yeah, we'll go pick up the trailer. Trailer's good. It's inspected. Everything's good to go. So whatever contractor we bring on, we've got a trailer here in Springfield at Like Trucking. I talked to Jeff last night. We were talking about plans for mats. We're gonna do some promotions for not only Thunder Funding or 123 Low Board, but also for Like Trucking and Rig Runner Logistics. So we're hoping to kind of utilize our time and space there. So it'll be good. It'll be a good time. So those of you who want to meet me in person, either to yell at me, flip me the bird, or shake my hand, or do a selfie, or all the above, punch me in the face, whatever, we'll be at the Thunder Funding booth. So I'll be pretty easy to find and easy to spot. So and so when your tired feet are tired of walking, come over to the Thunder Funding, and we'll hang out and chat, and you might even be caught up in one of Jeff's live feeds. I'm looking at this microphone thing that you hook up to your phone. I was talking about this with CDN, and we're talking about, because he liked my IFTA sticker video, but the audio is not great when you're outside like that. And So I'm looking at some microphone options for the phone, so I can do more stuff on the outside, because that would have been great. And then if I ever do a load again, I will get the GoPros out and we'll do an old school vlog. So I like doing those. They're fun to do. But anyways, let's go with the comments, and then we'll go over the weather, and then and I also have a couple other things in plan for the channel. So I believe Shannon and I are going to do something about how to find your lanes, and then I have possibly an interview coming up with an insurance person. There's a few things that and a fellow YouTuber set me up with that, and so that'll be good. So that'll be informative. So we're gonna have a little bit of information, and maybe I can invite Big Rig CEO back on sometime. I think he doesn't like me anymore, so I went off on him yesterday. So there's some YouTube drama. So we're dabbling in all kinds of stuff. We're gonna do interviews. We're gonna do weather. We're gonna do low boards. We're gonna do trucking vlogs, and we're gonna do YouTube drama. So it'll be awesome. All right, so let's go with old school, new school here. Puxatani Phil is wrong. Yeah, you know why? Because rodents are not meteorologists. They never have, and they never will. Now, Puxatani, Philadelphia, or Pennsylvania, not Philadelphia. They're geniuses. They've been using this marketing technique for years and years and years. Even created a holiday over it, and a great movie with Bill Murray. Also, if you live in Philadelphia, be careful, because the last time Philadelphia won the Super Bowl, they rioted in the streets and they tore everything up. So there's that. So just be careful if Philly wins the Super Bowl on Sunday. Mike Nine Toes, good morning. Pigtail, good morning. Go Chiefs, right? 2 shops for the truck today. Charles, good morning. CB, good morning. Morning from Alabama. Drinking Metalhead coffee out of my Snorelord Black Sabbath coffee mug. There you go. Hit all the metal points. Jeremy Rice. Just couldn't wait on Shannon to bootleg me a mug any longer. Well, she's busy working, right? Wheelburner from the Ice Roads. Doing his thing. Everybody check out his channel. He's doing ice road trucking. Charles, good morning. I haven't seen you in a minute. DIY does not have a mug. So if someone would like to buy DIY Semi a mug, I'm sure he'd be happy to receive it. Good morning, Shannon. Good morning, everyone from Texas. Alfalfa, what's up? DIY still uses adding machine that you pull the handle to total. He might be cheap. Still drinking my coffee. Sorry. Hey, Shannon, that was me who waved at you. Host Metals in LA yesterday. Oh, okay. Good morning, Shannon. I had to order a legal mug, but I still like your bootleg merchandise personally. David Edwards, good morning. Today I identify as lazy. I want a selfie with gum the mats, man. That's the thing. DIY met up with me in Springfield, actually, and we didn't get a selfie. We didn't even go live. We were lame. I think he was tired, and we just ate a bunch of food, and we just, I don't know, we just never did that. So, but I took him to Bass Pro Shop, and he was in amazement of all the wondrous things that you could see at Bass Pro Shop. That seems to be a thing. Like one time, I had Harold and James Best over at in Springfield, and I had them tour Bass Pro. I believe they were equally as impressed. So anybody who wants to come to Springfield, if you want the Bass Pro Tour, I'll give it to you. So Charles, thumbs up. Tezaroki Pam, good morning. Do it all, right? Well, yeah, we also talk about hell too, Charles, right? Come for the info, stay for the job. Woot. Music City, are there donuts in the break room? Which break room? Good morning, Steve. I'm hopefully going to get my taxes done this weekend so we can go over my numbers. Excellent. Jeffrey Houlihan, Morning from Florida. CDN, good morning. Negative 21 degrees Fahrenheit here. It's a wee bit chilly this morning. Yeah, well, I'm going to go out on a limb, but I think most of us would cringe to that. But if I'm driving on top of a frozen lake, I believe I want it as cold as possible. So that's probably a good thing. Normally I would go, oh man, that sucks, Will Burner. I hate that for you. But I'm not saying that because you know why? If you said, hey, it's 34 degrees here today, I'd be like, you can't be driving on lakes. So what is the temperature that they're like, yeah, don't get on here? I'm curious about that. I did watch Ice Road Truckers. I believe I have all the seasons on DVD of Ice Road Truckers, and I know a couple of people that actually did that. But I don't remember if they say what temperature you got to be careful at. Free foot massages from Snorelord all weekend at the truck show. Yes. And let it be known that I massage with an electric drill. So I'm retired from bootlegging Snorelord merch. I'm into selling it now. Yes. Shannon has gone legit. She has gone legit. Thumbs up, everyone, to you, Snorelord. Thank you. All right, so let's take a look at... Oh, got another one. Clyde sneaking in here. I see you. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. Let's take a look at the weather alerts, shall we? Let's see. Share screen. StreamYard changed this whole screen sharing entry thing. It's kind of not much going on except in the Northeast. Let's see. A lot of rain, and they're talking about tornado stuff like down there, but that's what else is new. Got some wind advisory, hazardous weather, whatever that means. That's in Albany, 46 degrees, 8 degrees Celsius for your Canadians. So not much going on. I think if you're going across 80, you got a smooth ride going on, at least warning wise. I mean, there might be some weather going on. There's always some weather going on, but I believe the Northeast is going to get hit with some stuff this weekend. So, but it's supposed to be nice here. So they require the ice to be a minimum of 18 inches thick, but for safety matters, they want the ice to be 31 to 32 inches thick. Okay. Yeah, I believe what they test it. They drill. Short Haul Slayer. I like that name. Alabama in the house. I like that. Short Haul Slayer. Now you just need the Slayer logo for your avatar and you're good to go. Stuart, good morning. So let's go over some low board stuff. I like I said, I did pretty good. So I can report on that. Hold on. One truck went from Long Prairie, Minnesota to Jefferson, Wisconsin, and then grabbed a load out of Plainfield, Wisconsin, and went to Gordonville, Virginia. That did pretty good. I had one truck that was in Denver, took him to Arizona where he's at home. And then we had one that went from Idaho to Minnesota. And I've got to book his load over the weekend. And then we had another truck in Denver, and he's on a multi-stop up to the Northeast, making big bucks. So there's not really one area I'm concentrating on. The two trucks that were in Denver, that was, well, one of them was my doing. The other one was not. He's like, hey, I'm going to end up in Denver. Can you hook me up? I'm like, sure. And I did. And then always try to get a truck up to Wisconsin or Minnesota because it's a good region for reefer freight. So let's see what Sean says. Sean, slim pickings over here when I'm doing back-to-back super values garbage. Sean, do you stay in a certain area? I mean, I know that, at Schneider, people don't go you know, cross country. In fact, I knew one guy that went out to Phoenix to hang out with family, and he couldn't get back. He even had the BOAs there, like looking. I don't know. I don't know if he even deadheaded back or what happened. SST, what's up? It's yeah, Schneider's regional, right? Sometimes you got to go from the northeast region to the southeast region. February is a weird month over at the Schneider World, but it too passes. Here's the thing. So I was been reading this book, Mental Resilience. And it's and one of the things it talks about is you got to accept that life is always changing. And I think that too often that we're set in our ways. We're set. I'm guilty of that. Um I'm guilty of that. But as I've entered into this dispatch service, I've realized that you can't be like that. You can't be set in certain ways, because every now and then this home run load will come up. It'll put you in a position that, well, it's not ideal. And being able to adapt to not ideal conditions is probably the best thing for you. And so I look at the ebbs and flows of freight. There's no secret formula other than it's supply and demand. And when demand is down, it's a bit more of a struggle. And that's just a world we live in. And there's a few industries that are like this. If you own a restaurant, if you own a retail store, you go through seasons, you go through areas, you go through times when it's a lot of work with no reward, and then you got a lot of times where it's very little work and a lot of reward. And that's human nature to want that part, to be able to just wake up and be making money, or making money doing something that you absolutely love. And I think that's the thing with truck drivers is if you love trucking, I think it's a lot easier for your mindset to put you in a place where you can make money. And this is by experience. This is, like if I had to get back in the truck, I'm fine with that because I still like truck driving. Would I rather be in my own bed than in my sleeper? Yeah, because I've got a good life at home. I know people that don't. I know people that get in the truck because they need to get away from their family. So, um, and and I hope I'm never in that position. So I know people that would love to stay home, but they can't because they're tending to their business. And so it's a balance, right? And so some weeks I should be in the truck, and there are other weeks where there's no way I can actually be in the truck, and that's just how it is. So that's that's the world we live in. It's always changing. That's the thing. The freight market is always changing, whether for better or for worse. It's always changing. And Schneider's no different. You contract freight people. It's no different. You might be able to ride a gravy train for years, and then all of a sudden it just stops because someone else came in, and or there's a new person at that shipper that decided that they hate orange trailers. I've dealt with that personally. And you just got to be like water, like Bruce Lee says, right? So what did Sterling do? Sterling gifted 5 memberships. Man, my membership count's going to go through the roof. Awesome. Thank you, Sterling. Next time you could be a lucky recipient of a Snorelord Viking Caveman Trucker gift membership. So thank you. Thank you for the gifts. Don, are you at AWG? Which one? KC or Springfield? All right. Only 75 today. Might need a sweater. We're supposed to get in the 60s or 50s, I think, this weekend. Not today, but this weekend. Far cry from the snow that they were forecasting. I used to. Now you just have to chase the money. Contract rates falling. Yeah, and Sonar has talked. FreightWaves has talked about contract rates falling. So it's sometimes there's an argument whether what's better, contract or spot, right? Or contracted spot. There's three ways. There's three ways to grab freight, right? As a truck driver, as an owner operator. I'm sorry, as an owner operator, and one of them is you do contract freight, and that's a company that has their own direct freight, say like Schneider, and then you have companies like us that are 100% spot market. And then there's the middleman. There's the middle ground, which I would like to get into, and that's some spot, some contract. And so a lot of times, what I've seen historically, remember I've been doing this a minute, is when spot rates are awesome, people leave the contract freight and they come to the spot market. There are companies that built their foundation off of, like Schneider guys leaving and come to the spot market. And then when the market gets saturated and no one's making any money in the spot market, what do? They flock back to the contract companies. And so essentially they're in the river and they're just letting the canoe go wherever it wants. They're not mastering, they're not taking the oars and trying to move where they need to move. And so it ends up being a big game of whack-a-mole. And the issue you run into is consistency. You lose consistency when you're constantly changing your plan. I know somebody that constantly changes their plan, but then usually circles around to the original plan. And so if you ever hope to master the art of dealing with the spot market, you got to stay in it during a good season and a bad season. Just like contract, it's the same thing. If you're going to be contract freight person, I get it. I've done it, been there. Remember, I went from Landstar to Schneider to get more of their contract freight. Mastering that is necessary as well. If you got an SFI and you got that 3-year lease with the big balloon, you got to get good at it. And I've seen so many times SFI guys will jump the spot market when the spot market's great and it handles their high truck payment, but then when it drops, now their costs are too high. And then Schneider makes it like they welcome you with open arms. That's just what they do, and they understand that. They understand that they lose people to the spot market whenever rates go through the roof. I've seen it twice, but they also make it harder to close it. They'll bring the SFI guys back, no problem. So when you're at Schneider, when I was at Schneider, manipulating that trailer pool was the most important thing. Okay, where's the hot? They have their own hot market map. If you get on the Schneider low board online, not on your mobile app or phone, but online, they have a hot market map. And if you are willing to chase the money, you can still make money whenever their market gets weird. And their market usually gets weird around February, just like it does in the spot. Contracts are being renegotiated, supply chains are being created. How many tons of mulch are we going to move into where? Who's going to order it? That kind of thing. So that all that there's so many elements to this industry that you have to be aware of, and some that you don't. Right? Just you can just concentrate on what's in front of your hood and just keep making money. But I try not to worry about the future too much. I mean, I can look at all the graphs and it could change my mindset. It can make you fatalistic. Like, oh man, what's the point? But the most important thing is you come out right. Whether you're going to Schneider as an SFI lease person or going to Prime as a lease person, or going to like trucking as an owner operator, you got to have a solid foundation. You got to have a solid foundation at home, your personal expenses, and you have to have a certain amount of mental stability, because if you make business decisions based off emotion, man, that could be a bad day, because it'll put you in a position that you don't want to be in, and now you're doing things out of desperation. And when you're constantly working out of desperation and you feel like there's no way out, man, that screws with your head. Now you're making all kinds of horrible decisions, and then you just kind of give up, and it's a wrap. And that's not a great place to be. Dennis, what's up? Sterling, good morning. Thank you for the gift of memberships. I appreciate that. For a 300-mile run, what would be round trip money? Well, Marty, it depends on your expenses. What's your cost? I know you like to calculate costs per hour. So do your cost per hour, and if it's worth it, then there you go. So if you're going to go by the mile, if it's 300 miles one direction, that's a 600-mile turnaround. You divide that by 2, and there's your rate per mile. And if you're doing 600 miles a day, it depends on the terrain that you're driving. So, that could be good. If you're in the Northeast, 600 might be pushing it. But if you are out west, 600 ain't nothing. It also depends on how fast they load and unload. I mean, there's so many factors. That's not an easy question to answer, but the simple answer is whatever works for you, man. If the rate per mile doesn't make sense, then look at the rate per day. A friend of mine let me log into his Landstar low board to check out rates. I did a direct comparison with the open low boards, and even with Landstar's cut, you would be way ahead. So, Stuart, you're saying you're going to go to Landstar? Is that in van? STD sprinting around. That's funny. I get it. Dang, I'm late. So what? Okay, Kansas City. You're in Kansas City one. Yeah, I think I've only been at Kansas City one time. I avoid them like the plague. Let's see. It made me realize how oversaturated with carriers right now. And that's the thing. I mean, it's but here's the thing. You can't just go by the looking at that load board, just like you can't go to DAT or even 123 and say, "Oh, okay, here's 20 loads at X amount of dollars," because you're going to make phone calls after phone calls, and those loads won't be there. Another tactic that I ran into both in the spot market and at Landstar was I call in a load. Oh yeah, we don't have that one anymore, but I've got this other one that's considerably less money and in stupider areas. Stupider. I love that word. Is that a word? And you want to do that one? No. Thank you for wasting my time. How come that one's not posted? Because it's a crappy load. So there's a lot of that goes on as well. You're feeling gifted this morning. Truckers Anonymous, good morning. Mr. Charles, good morning. Last time I was at one was in Birmingham. They made me disconnect. Some guy slammed his trailer into mine and damaged the skirt, left scratches on the trailer. Hopefully I get detention. Yeehaw, says Shannon. Thanks, Wilburner. By the way, Wilburner, I was quoted to get a new Freightliner. The price starts at $180K by a local dealership. Sterling, I've been on a CPAP for a few years while trucking and really struggle with taking a 30-minute nap now without one. Any suggestions? No. Try to sit up. Like I'm the kind of guy that can sleep in a chair sitting up, and your throat won't collapse. Um, but if you're driving that sleeper truck now, that well, you got to get rid of the plastic. You got to make that comfortable. That might help too. But I would just try to sit up. I mean, that's about the only suggestion I can make. Or go on a low carb ketogenic diet where an intermittent fasting where you have energy, you don't need a nap. That helps too. I noticed that change when I went that direction. Wait, there's gravy train, there's mashed potatoes train. Is there a mashed potatoes train? There might be a train where you might feel like mashed potatoes. That's 240,000 Canadian, Don. My starting price in Canada is about 205. After I add on the extended warranty and the APU and taxes, I will be out the door at around 250,000 Canadian dollars. 12 thumbs up, get 40 more. Thank you, LVC. Thank you for sharing it. Nope. Yes, and Van. Steve, some lanes only pay a certain rate. That's why key is study the areas you plan to run before buying that truck. Yeah, and that's something I'm going to encourage Don is to really look at the way he runs and if a new truck is possible for that. Because I know that's one of the reasons why I never got into a new truck is because the way I run, I've never been a 3,000 mile guy, a week guy. And sometimes I feel like these new truck prices that's what you'd have to turn into. So as long as that doesn't turn you into a slave in the truck. Now, if you got 50 grand down, brings the price down, and you can keep your loan about $2,500 a month, then this area will sustain that by the way you run, Don. So that's something else to look at. And if you want, we can have a very detailed conversation about it. And if you don't, I understand. So, and then that dealership, are they good with repairs? Do they have a good turnaround time? Because you still need that $3,000 a month truck payment if the truck's down, even if warranty's paying for it. SST. Can you explain why? Can you address why Landstar seems to work for long haulers? Schneider. So companies like Schneider, JB Hunt, even Swift, that have this choose your own freight process. They have redesigned their companies to be more regional so they can attract the company drivers that want to be home every weekend. Long haul trucking is not for sissies, right? You're away from home longer. You're bound to go through all kinds of weather, all kinds of terrains. It's just to go from Buffalo, New York to Seattle, Washington is a lot more difficult than just bouncing from Indy to St. Louis and back all the time. A lot of the freight that's on the Landstar board that's not direct, it's pulled off the spot rate. It's pulled off the spot market, tends to have a lot of long haul. And so there's that. It's interesting to look at the DAT board or the 1, 2, 3 where you see like nothing but long haul stuff out of my area, because a lot of the short haul carriers, grabbed all the short stuff around here. And then when fuel went up, a lot of people didn't want to do the long haul stuff anymore. Schneider, hold on. All right, I'm back. So, and that's just a theory, but people that, like, for example, I'm gonna use Trucker for Life. he's one of our contractors here at Like Trucking. He was over at Prime. And John, I hope you are okay with this, but he was over at Prime, and then he went over to Schneider. Got an SFI truck. Loved the truck, but he did not like how regional Schneider was. And so he was convinced to go over to Landstar with that truck. And I believe the fee to move the truck to Landstar is nowhere near as high as like coming over to Like Trucking. So, and I suggested that to him because Landstar had more long haul freight, which is what he was used to doing from Prime, which is what he likes doing. And it was a good fit for him. So it's just, Schneider concentrating on regional markets. If you look, I'll give you an example. Let's look at van here. I'm going to bring up the 123 low board hot market map. And you'll see that Schneider, wow, that's a lot more yellow on that map for van. Dang it. Anyways, Schneider, number one, they're based out of Green Bay, so they're going to have so what the way Schneider works is we have a bunch of contracts here, a bunch of contracts here, a bunch of contracts here, and a bunch of contracts out west. Schneider doesn't have a whole lot of freight in these states. They have some. They have a customer in Phoenix. But, if you live in the West Coast, you're pretty much staying in the West Coast. If you live in the upper Midwest, you're pretty much going to stay in that area. Every now and then you'll jump down southeast or you'll jump up to the northeast. And then Texas has its own market for Schneider. It's all regional. Whereas the loads that hit the Landstar board, Schneider's not bidding on the load that goes from New York to Washington. They're not bidding on that. Or if they do, they're going to put it on their brokerage side. And that's where you see it on Landstar. Landstar will co-broker that, and they'll take that load because Schneider doesn't want to cover it. They might have gotten that contract, but they don't want to cover it because none of their trucks might not want to go from New York to Washington. So that's why that happens, CB. Here at Landstar, most loads on the board are already covered. It's a problem if you have a pre-booked load cancel. Yes, that was one of the challenges that I had. Sterling, I've heard they make a mouth guard to help with that. That's true. You think it'll pick up in April? Historically, it usually starts picking up in early March. So if you look at February being the worst month, February is the month that you just kind of like take a break and take your vacation, go on your cruise or whatever. If you're a cruiser, get away from the winter weather. Get some maintenance done on the truck. That's so you're ready and get your truck ready for spring. So yes, I do think it'll pick up in April. Maybe not as high as we would like, but I don't have a crystal ball. And historically, it usually picks up. What you might have to have in your mind is what if it doesn't? But it's going to come up. I mean, demand for things are going to creep up, whether it be slowly or quickly, we don't know. So I guarantee that April will be at least better than February. So I mean, because it even during the shutdowns, it got better. So it just made it more extreme. That's all. The shutdowns just made everything extreme. The vid just made everything extreme. Instead of gradual ups and downs, now it became sharp up, sharp down. So that one guy, one new truck in these uncertain times, a new truck in uncertain times is ballsy at best, right? Wow, you mentioned Landstar yesterday, and the Blue Star bat signal went out to all. Adam, good morning, Snorelord in chat. There was a truck, I believe it was Gats. I went up to the Landstar booth, and they had the low board. Now that's the other thing, Stuart. Did you notice all the repeated loads, the multi postings from different agents? Did you see all that, Stuart? And so I went up to the booth, the Landstar booth, and they had the low board on this big iPad. I started scrolling, and there was a recruiter sitting there, and I'm sitting there like, wow, you guys still have the multiple postings. I can't believe that. And he's like, yeah, Snorelord, it's still a problem. So they remember me from YouTube. That was funny. It's interesting. A lot of people don't realize I was at Landstar if they're new to my channel, because all my Landstar videos, all but one, are gone. So anytime, Snorelord, I'm still investigating strategies, debating on two different options, and haven't decided on which path yet. Keep my truck when paid off, or trade it in, or keep the truck. And we can go over that. Shoreline is getting his honey-do list for the weekend. I've explained it to Wheelburner in one of his streams and gave him a laugh. This truck is a starter and a setup against me, when it comes to fuel economy. Hence the reason I do 55. Marty appreciates me. Thank you. What long haul lanes seem most consistent from your perspective? I-20. Like, say, from LA to Georgia or Florida. If you're going coast to coast, California to Texas, I see. If you run the Pacific Northwest, Washington to the Northeast, Seattle area, Portland's not a bad market, but I mean, it can be. But I would choose the Seattle market over Portland market. For reefer, it's about the same. There's a lot of frozen fish that comes out of the Northwest. Hell, there's even frozen fish that comes out of Idaho. It's fish farms. People are like, how are you picking up frozen fish in Idaho? Yeah, but you look on Google Maps, it's a fish farm. And then also another lane that works well is northeast to Florida and back. You can maximize, because people that are in Florida normally don't want to go northeast, so you get a better rate. You have a little bit of leverage there, and then they have to pay a little bit better from the northeast down to Florida, because versus you're going to make a better rate going, say, from New York to Florida versus New York to Missouri. You're going to get a better rate because Missouri's a better market coming out than Florida is. If you're reefer, you're actually going to do pretty decent with that. So, basically the areas to avoid, in my opinion, is Nevada, Utah. Salt Lake can be a decent area, but it could be a challenge, especially in the wintertime. Arizona's horrible for van, okay for reefer. New Mexico, just avoid that altogether. All platforms, it's not great coming out. Idaho is seasonal. Washington and Oregon are seasonal. Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, and Nebraska, parts of Nebraska, especially western Nebraska, there's not much out there. And so another lane you could do is Minnesota to Texas and back. For a minute I was doing reefer, was doing Illinois to Texas and back, and that was doing pretty good. So, but if you want to do coast to coast, I would say the upper northwest to the upper northeast, or the lower southwest to lower southeast. That would be probably the best. When have you ever had an easy time taking a vacation this summer from trucking? I suspect this year will be the same. Steve, would you let me pop in for 6 minutes to share how I booked $9,000 spot load without posting? Absolutely. Let's here, I'll just, instead of emailing you, I'll just throw this link in. Now let's here, copy. Oh, let's unshare that so you don't see all the. I'm going to reply to one of your emails, CDN. There. I'm replying to no subject. So, yes, I also saw most of the top paying stuff was Hazmat or Canada. That's the other thing. Hazmat is the way to go at Landstar. That's why they make you have it, because there's some opportunity there. Schneider, not so much. I didn't see much of a difference. And Schneider didn't have a whole lot of hazmat, but man, you find a hazmat groove at Landstar, man, you're good. Because most people are like, I don't do hazmat. It sucks. So when I search Landstar board, it's set for direct freight always. There you go. How's it going? Says Tolga. Hope you're doing well. Brother, are you still hollering in Springfield concert halls? No, I haven't played a gig since 2016. The current band we haven't even rehearsed. Every now and then the drummer and I will get together and jam, but we even hadn't done that in a while. So I would like to get back to that, but right now it's kind of a different world right now playing out. So it would have to be a really great situation. If you need to C series or E series cat, you can buy brand new out of the box. They're building engines again. Wonder how they got around the DPF system, or how they're doing the DPF system. I used to deliver liquid oxygen to a fish farm. There you go. Urban Network Trucking Podcast, Florida, Texas, 1,200, 1,600, Texas to Florida, 22 to 3,000 at best. I live in Florida. And you're that's a good lane. And you ride that for as long as you can, and you get good at it. You see everything, right? And so that's why it's important to have your cost down, because the lower your cost, the easier it is to find that lane that works like that. You're not zigzagging trying to get home runs on every single load, because that's not happening right now. You got to find consistency. I can look at Samsara. I can look at where all of our drivers at, and they're all in the same areas that they normally run. There's a couple of guys that go all over the place, but they've acquired broker relationships in those odd areas that they're going to, like Denver. Hazmat or bust at Landstar, I agree. CDN, I put the link out. He must be busy again. Some at Landstar Hall only hazmat. They seem to do well. My deal at Landstar, I loved empty totes that still needed placards. Love them. And because they were light, most of the places that they go to are pretty easy to maneuver. And then the other one I liked was barrels. That is like, it might be 10 barrels that you got to put like 18 straps on so it doesn't move, and nail boards to the trailer. That was a good one. And then fireworks. Fireworks were multiple stops. And there is yet to be a fireworks receiver that was not happy to see me. The other MO I did was shopping carts, which is not hazmat, but it was multiple stops. And those people actually despised you when you showed up with empty shopping carts. They're like, I hate you. I actually got some joy out of that. Good morning, Rob. How are you?
Good. Yourself?
Oh, not too bad. What did you got for me today?
Well, just a quick story. So we always talk about the load boards and spot market. Now, I can remember those you, Steve, or someone else was talking about, spot market versus not spot market. I mean, there's obviously contract, but they say a lot of freight doesn't move, and there's that definition of a true spot market or not. But I call spot market is the shippers that have irregular freight where it's not enough that they do contract, but that it's not like they have like, okay, every Thursday they got the same load, right? So I kind of, even if I don't use the spot market load boards to post on it, I may use regular carriers to run the lane. I still consider that spot in my mind, because it's not like I can tell a carrier, yeah, if you anytime you're here on Thursdays, call me. I'll get you the load. I can't rely on that, because it might be a Thursday, might be a Monday, might be a Tuesday. It could vary from week to week. So, but the little story I'll share with you, peeling back the curtain a little bit on my mindset of booking freight. So I have this load to come out of Texas, going to the oil sands of Fort McMurray, and there's a certain delivery date in February here coming up, and so I looked on my load board. I did a search, and I'm looking at the carriers available for this particular load, and none really appealed to me. So I recall doing this load the reverse direction, taking it from Alberta to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that carrier, and the first thing I did was there's two carriers I had in mind for this particular load because of the parameters and everything else. So the one carrier that did the reverse of this load, the first thing I did is I looked back at the email history. I checked, well, first off, actually, sorry, I checked our profile to see if other agents have booked with them, have had any problems. And if that was clear, then my next move was I looked at my last load with them, and I looked at the communication. I looked at how fast they got me the POD. I looked at how often they communicated with me on the load.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had any notes I added about the load and about the carrier, because you have a bad experience and you don't want to use that carrier again. So I just did my homework.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I did was I took that last load where they sent me the POD, and I replied to that email, and I just modified it, explained the details, and asked them if they would do it for this price. And they replied back last night, yes. And I have another carrier that I had a great experience with, similar, picking up in a different location, like different state, but going to a similar area. And they gave me a number that was very close, but they're not sure about their availability. But the point was, that's a pretty high paying load that will never see the load board. And it's because it was handpicked. So the point of me coming on is to say to everyone here that's on the spot market where you are studying the load boards, your communication matters. Your actions with your brokers matters. And you need to set yourself apart. And when you're in a downtime or a quiet time, if your truck's in the shop, I can't emphasize enough. I know that you guys always talk about, well, some of these brokers are impossible to get a hold of. And obviously it's frustrating because you're in the heat of a moment where you need to book a truck, in Steve's case, or yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get your truck moving so that you can make some more money. But whenever you are in a situation where you have a few minutes, take the time to reach out to that broker that's hard to get a hold of via email, via whatever, have some conversations saying, look, I've done 4 loads, 7 loads, 20 loads with you. I just want to touch base and see how I can help you more. Build that network. And if you don't have an email network, you need a service, constant contact, MailChimp. MailChimp's the best because it's low cost. They have a free version that allows more than enough for any small carrier out there, where within that you just add the emails to the brokers that you like to work with. And then when your truck is available, you can email out to that network of brokers saying, hey, I'll have a truck in Alabama. I'll have a truck in Philadelphia. I'll have a truck in wherever. Okay. And will it pay off right away? Because everyone's going to say, well, I did that. Guess what? It won't pay off. It might take a year. And all of a sudden, one day, you'll get some return email from a broker that a truck availability alert that you sent out, asking you for a quote or a load on your truck.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just will start to happen. And more, that's how you get off the load board. Because I know that, Sage has always talked about that, saying that the key is you got to find the freight off the load boards, and everyone talks about it. But let's get to the nitty gritty of how to do that. Let's demonstrate how you do that. And you have your connections. Big Rig CEO talks about his connections that he used to have when he was hauling reefer. He used to often move a lot of freight, without actually being on the load boards. So is it going to be fixed and done overnight? Nope. But the point is, everyone talks about it, but what's the reality of doing it? And that's why I wanted to come on and saying, step one, it's your consistent service will pay off. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but your consistent service. And any of you that have a cell phone, so it means everyone, And every one of you that's making a delivery, take 2 minutes, buy yourself a cheap tripod with a cell phone holder on Amazon so you can have it standing up in front of you. Stand in front of your truck and make a 2-minute video. There's a service called loom.com, loom.com. And if you sign up to that for the free version, they allow a 5-minute free video. So if you want to start to set yourself apart with a broker, maybe after your next load, stand in front of your truck and just introduce yourself. Hey, this is Rob. I delivered your load to here. I got your POD right here. I'm about to scan it over and send it over to you. Just wanted to say thank you for your business. Looking forward to working with you on the next load. And stop the video. It literally, in the beauty of loom.com is when you send it to the broker, it's not a big file. It allows you to make a title. And once you can change the title. So you can just say the load number, thank you for your business. And they'll be like, oh, interesting. And then all it does is when you click share or you copy the link, you just have to copy the link, paste it into the email, attach the POD. And what it tells you as well is it will tell you when the user has viewed the video. And imagine if you started doing that, that's going to really set you apart where they can see the level of professionalism, how your demeanor is, and as a person. It takes, because we work in this technology world where we don't get a chance to see the people, creating a short video post delivery can be a huge thing, something that no one else is doing. And so that's step one. And then build that email network. If you want to get yourself into where you're getting some of the freight that is not moving on the spot market, that's how it works. You have to build that communication. So, but that's the point. And that's that, those are the step one is, like, I'm not sure if you heard that, Steve, but the idea of a short video post delivery, something different, unique. And I gave a way to make it happen because you can use loom.com. It has a feature that you can download it right on your phone. And that's one way. Your communication is the other way. So,
yeah, communication is key. I that phone call was a broker wanting to know where one of our drivers is at because they can't get a hold of the driver. They don't update their broker, and so it becomes kind of frustrating. I have to explain to them I'm not the dispatcher for this person. They've dispatched themselves, and you need to reach out to that particular driver. I can give you location, and that's it. I don't know what they've delivered. I don't know what they've done. I don't know where they're going. So,
see, that's unique to me. I fight tooth and nail. I cannot get drivers' phone numbers. They won't give it out, even if they're an owner operator. They say we just don't do it.
Well, a lot of it is, because I'm only dispatching 3, sometimes 4 drivers here at Like Trucking.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I book the load, I'm the communication, but then these brokerages get their information mixed up. So if a certain brokerage books a load with one of our drivers that doesn't use me, well, I'm still in the contact list.
That's right.
And so I do what I can. I'm not rude to them. I'm like, look, here's this person's location. They last stopped at this place. I can look at that.
Well, the only thing I would add as a feedback for yourself, being that kind of middle person in those
mm-hmm.
situations where where that driver self-dispatched, is provide that low location. They confirm that the broker does have the correct phone number. And then the last step that I would be doing in that situation is saying, what's your email to the broker and what's your load number? And just because if you know the email address to that driver, you just put it in the load. You put the subject the subject line is just the load number because the driver should recognize that. And they're just saying, hey, good morning to the driver's name. The broker, John, is CC'd on the email. They're having struggles reaching you. If you can please contact them as soon as possible. And then, and if you're seeing this trend, then obviously the conversation has to happen with that driver that you need to establish with brokers before you load your communication strategy. And this goes back to, so in this case, it's early morning. The driver very well could be sleeping right now, right? So again, my tip from a driver's standpoint of the world is, and some may agree with this, but it's 2023. You can email, text, fax, message, Facebook message, Instagram direct message, TikTok if you wanted to, Snapchat. So there's multiple ways in which you can communicate. But if I was a driver and I have a load where I'm going to be, say I drove till 10 o'clock at night, and I'm going to have a shower, and then I'm going to go to sleep. It's 11:30, maybe watching a movie or something, half an hour. So say it's midnight, I go to sleep. So I'm going to sleep till 8, 9 o'clock because I drove later. That was my intent. And then I got to get up and I got to fuel because I ran tight to the truck stop. So I know I have to do a couple things in the morning before I get going. When I stop for the day as a driver, um, no, WC Finder. I have a folder in my inbox that is called truck availability, and I probably get 20 to 30 a day. And what do? I don't delete them. I save them. So yesterday, when I had this load going from Texas to Alberta, the first thing I did is I went back through that list. It's kind of respect. It's a respect thing. They're sharing me. They're taking the time to let me know when they're available and where their trucks are. And if I have opportunities, I reply to those emails and offer them a load. I'll change the subject line, but they can see in the body of the email. That's how you build that network to get off the load board. That's where it happens. That's just where it happens.
One of the things that I do, number one, you were right about what you were saying earlier. I've done all that, so I do.
Well, I was going to say
I
the
do all
summary is that
yeah.
the drivers, if you know you're running late evening and you want to sleep through the night without being disturbed, communicate to who you have to, whether it's your dispatch, the broker, the consignee. Text them, email them saying, I'm the driver on the load. I've stopped at this truck stop. I'm taking my 10-hour break. I got a fuel in the morning. Or you could make a summary. I'm stopped at this truck stop. I'm taking my break. I'll be leaving here at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'll text you when I'm leaving. This way, no one will bug you. You won't get disturbed.
Well,
you may not.
think, yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's a good habit to have. Whether the broker responds, because you got to remember, there's a lot of unprofessional brokers where the right hand doesn't tell the left hand what's going
Correct.
on.
But as a carrier, you'd be in the top 5% of carrier communications in North America if you did that.
Right. Yeah. And then, one of the things that I do when I get a list from somebody, hey, good morning. Do you have any trucks in Sparta, Wisconsin? And I just don't ignore the email. I say, hey, thanks for reaching out. I don't have anybody at this time, but if that changes, I'll let you know. Because there might be a time where a driver calls me up and is like, dude, I'm in Wisconsin, man. I can't find anything. I'm like, oh, well, I know a person, so let's hook you up.
Mm-hmm.
It could happen at the last minute. But I'm always, I wasn't always like that, but now I am, to the point that, hey, thanks. Even if they go, hey, I got a load coming out of North Dakota going to Amarillo, Texas, a load that I would probably never do. I at least tell them, hey, thanks for reaching out. I don't have anybody in the area. If anything changes, I will let you know. Thank you.
Well,
Because I'm great. I show gratitude for them reaching out to me like that.
But also what it does, it helps me when I see this. Like I had one yesterday. Hey team, we have 48 flats in California next week, starting Monday, coming back to BC, Alberta. Let us know. Okay. The next one, I've got an email from February the 9th, 10th, 13th. Trucks in, like, there's 1, 2, 3, it's 5, 7, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 different lanes that they've posted to me of available trucks. So one, it shows me their capacities, but also shows me where they're trying to get to. Maybe there's volume going that way. So it also is an indicator of, if I see a lot of their trucks are going into one region, maybe the market's shifted in that area, and I can look at the rates and so forth. But I can tell you from my perspective, some brokers are just chasing for the cheapest rate all the time, and they don't care. But our brokerage truly encourages, they can't tell us, but they really encourage us to avoid the one and done carriers and build relationships and networks. So unless a carrier messed me over, I rely on the history. If you've done the loads for me before, then I will, I'll come. I always come to you first. I'm all, like, just the other day, I got some loads coming up in a couple of weeks. I'll be needing 3 step decks for. First thing I did is I haven't even looked at the load boards. I've just emailed the carriers I've worked with on these lanes before, checking their availability. Unless they don't have availability, then I go ahead and post it. But see, the other thing that you guys may not realize that brokers have the ability to do on Truckstop, DAT, and LoadLink in Canada, I'm able to search trucks in the lane without posting. So I can see who's on the market, and I can see there's things I look at from certain carriers that if I don't like it, I'm not calling you. And if I need to, I'll block you. I'll block you so you can't see my freight. So, yeah, like, I mean, now remember, there's also the other side of it. There are brokerages out there where they have a big account person, and what they're doing is they secured, say 10 loads of some commodity out of one shipper. And what they do is they enter 10 such loads into their TMS. And then with a click of a button, it gets posted on multiple load boards. Sometimes you can offer even book now. So when you see some of the loads that have limited information, sometimes, and you're like, man, this broker sucks. No, it's not that the broker sucks. It's that it's the integration with the tools that they have. And so there's that side of things. So you can't just, paint, you can't just make one estimation. You have to kind of look at what the broker is and what they're doing and how they function. But the one thing I can tell you right now to be aware of and watch for is MC fraud. It's on the rise. MC
It's through the
fraud,
roof.
it's through the roof. And yes, what Steve's been talking about and others is DIY semis. Pro tip is LinkedIn as well. Just you can tell a lot by looking at someone's LinkedIn profile. And Steve, remember how I helped you with some suggestions on yours?
Yep.
Because there's some people that don't realize how LinkedIn works and how you can make some things. And the key to LinkedIn, like DIY Semi, the key to LinkedIn is you have to build a company profile page first. Because if you put that you are currently working at your carrier and you don't have a company LinkedIn page, it just shows a gray box. But if you actually have a website and you have a company logo, now when you have a company page, promoting your carrier, all your drivers and employees are able to update their profile they just have to put the link to the website in their description, and then boom, the website logo pops up in that person's history of what they've done, and that makes a huge difference to see that kind of stuff. I think it looks much better.
Yeah, and there are some people I know on LinkedIn that use it like Facebook. They use it to just basically gripe and make a lot of noise. Then they wonder why they can't make any contacts. But let me share you an email.
As you're doing that, I'll share one other tidbit of advice.
Go ahead.
If you're an owner operator, well, you're succumb to what the carrier does. But if you run your own carrier, even if you're just one truck and you have your own authority, get a web page, build a simple website. Doesn't have to be complicated. And there it is, available loads right there. See, Constant Contact. And the reason that you need a service like Constant Contact or MailChimp, and there's others out there, is there's a button on the bottom here that will say unsubscribe. That's the key. That prevents you from being marked as anti-spam in your, on the email, because you have the right to unsubscribe from this email.
Yeah, so this is a broker that I've used every now and then. They're more regional. I know their lanes because I used to work for them, and
Right.
I thought it's interesting that they're using Constant Contact now. The emails didn't always have that, and
I'll tell you why. Is because they had problems with spamming. People kept saying their stuff. They kept getting their emails put into spam folders.
That was true, because I had to call them one day because I knew I was in one of their areas, and I was like, "Hey, you haven't sent me a list." And like, "We just sent you one." And then they're like, so I booked a load, and then they sent me a rate con. It went to the spam folder. So yeah, now I'm getting their emails again. So that's good. So I just wanted to share that. You were talking about email services. I'd set up with MailChimp, but I haven't really utilized it a whole lot. I've poked around. And this one, I thought it was interesting that there's another service like that. So
see, as brokers, when we see things of MC things on the rise, and people who want to double broker and stuff. When you have a website, it doesn't have to be complicated, just a simple one page. But what it does is, if I go look at the FMCSA and I see that your company address matches to what you told me, I go look at your website, it matches, actually doesn't, it actually has a physical address that matches your MC information. And you looked at LinkedIn and you see them there and you see that their history, guess what? Your professionalism is through the roof. Everything's consistent. And that's why, like, if you're on a phone, like even if you're one carrier, have a nice voicemail system. Take the minute, create either a voicemail. And Steve, if you if you open up another tab, type in grasshopper.com. Grasshopper.com. It'll be VoIP, Grasshopper VoIP. Or even just search, because I don't know what that, maybe it's it should be that name. I don't want it to get you to a weird, maybe it should be, or Grasshopper VoIP. Yeah, there it is. See, grasshopper.com. So what this does, this is what I use. Ring Central. Ring Central is another one. But here's what you can keep your cell phone. But what it does is it puts you to the new level. There's a fee to it, yes. But what it does is you have your cell phone, but now you have a business phone. So if you're driving and you're a single operator, you can create a queue without anyone knowing how big or small you are. You can make it, welcome to Light Trucking. Press 1 for Steve, press 2 for Jeff, or you can make it, press 1 for dispatch, press 2 for accounting, press 3 for safety.
Yeah, we've done that.
So you build yourself to make yourself look bigger than you are. Now, what this does is you can have it so when you're driving, you can make it so that it actually, when they dial your number, your business number, you can have it, the settings on the back end, so that it actually will ring to your extension, or you can have it ring to your cell phone. And the other nice thing is that if you were sitting at a truck stop, coffee shop, inside your truck, instead of having to type on your phone text messages, you can actually text this little screen that you're seeing there. You can actually make phone calls from your laptop. You can make phone calls from your phone, or if you have a desktop VoIP. But you can be a trucker, have this nice phone system, but you can have the phone forward to your cell phone, but you can make the queues seem better, because now if you're busy with stuff like safety, you can say, if this is an urgent matter, call your cell phone. Otherwise, leave a message and I'll get back to you within 24 hours. If it's dispatch, you can adjust your voicemails, and you can set hours of operation. So like if you want your business hours 7 a.m. to 4:30 or 7 a.m. to 5, so then it will actually establish like 7 a.m. Prior to 7 a.m., your phones are going to be forwarded to your cell phone after hours automatically. During business hours, the phones come to this phone number. So on the load boards, you use this phone number. Then at 4:30 p.m., it goes to the off and it goes to the after hour cycle. And it's super, super nice. So one personal, one tracking phone and tablet. Have all email communications. Yep, that's right. Urban Network.
Here, RD has got a question for you. What did he mean by he sees things on DAT that a carrier's doing and he blocks them from seeing his loads?
Because I can search a lane. So like I can look up Atlanta, Georgia to Dallas, Texas, and I can see available trucks, and I can I have to double check but I know on Truck Stop I can block carriers. I can block them from seeing my freight. I can favorite carriers so they see them first. And on DAT, because I can look at their profile. So if I see them in my system as do not use, like say another agent had bad experience, we can make it so that I think also on DAT, I'd have to test it out here. But I think on DAT, we can also block, and I'll just quickly, as I'm looking here, I will try that. But on LoadLink in Canada, I can block a carrier. I can favorite them. I can do three things. One, I can block them so they don't see my freight. Two, I can add them to a private network. So on LoadLink, I have a feature that if I wanted to, I could build up like say 20 carriers, and that when I post a load, only those 20 carriers would see that. So it's kind of like a little private. I don't use that much. If I'm going to post, I'm going to post. But there's reasons that you do this. Some may say, well, that's kind of shady, this and that. But sometimes you don't want carriers seeing your freight, because if they see this, if you had a bad experience, So, but anyways, that's the gist of it. But I can't encourage enough. How many have done this? If you haven't done so, take the minute. If you're delivering a load today, literally go to Loom, type it, open it, share the screen again, Steve,
Mm-hmm. Loom.
and then
Okay.
type in loom.com, loom.com. Let's give a quick tutorial. Yeah. See, on DAT, I have the ability to build a private network. And I'm going to look at searching here.
Nothing
Okay.
what he said. The question was more about what kinds of things are drivers doing. What would make you block them?
Okay. So what would be is number one, lying. So basically bad communication. That's first and foremost, and failure to provide service. Now, it is trucking. So too bad carriers can't block certain brokers as well.
Well, actually, SST you can, if you pay for the higher versions of DAT. I don't know about Truck Stop and 123. I've never really dived into that feature, but I know on DAT, if you pay the high money, you can block brokers from being on your low board at all.
See, I can
So,
put them to, I see, like I open up a lane I just looked at, and I can say, okay, add them to my watch list. So I got a watch list so I'm doing on there. But so with what carriers would do, so continually failing to service, lying, double brokering your load, uh, history of claims, bad, that type of stuff, and maybe they're like, say their drivers are always swearing, yelling at shippers, those kind of things. Basically, unprofessionalism consistently. I mean, as far as service levels go, breakdowns happen, weather happens, but it's how we communicate it. And you know how many times I've had drivers say, "Oh yeah, the truck is broken down." So I said, okay, well, send me a picture. I did have a driver this summer literally sent a picture on the 401 in Toronto with the truck broken down and the tow truck in the front. So good on him.
mhm.
And if I had other times they say, oh, yeah, the truck's at the shop. Okay, send me the receipt. 2 weeks later, send me the receipt. No, they never sent the receipt as proof, right?
Yeah, because one of the things that we at like trucking dealt with in the beginning, and this tends to happen when you have people come new into the spot market, is you see a load that's great and it's great paying, but you just quite can't make that delivery time. Um, so the right thing to do is call the broker and say, hey, I don't think I can make that delivery time. Is there any way to move that? I would like to do this load. The other thing is you would have drivers that would go, yeah, man, I can get that done. Yeah, sure. And then, then they have a flat tire, or they have a truck issue, and we have it in our contract that you can't do stuff like that. You got to be legally able to book a load or to do the load that you're booking. Now if you have now there were times where I called the broker and said, "Hey, if we can move the delivery time, can we do that?" And they say, "Yeah." I used to call Jeff and say, "Hey, they're moving this delivery time, so it's not like I booked something I know I can't do." And the people that were doing that are no longer here, but it becomes a problem for a spot market carrier that self dispatch in the beginning. I know drivers that used to brag about that. Oh yeah, man, I used to do that all the time. I got a flat tire, and then you know, suspect, and sure enough, that's when I started seeing Raycon say, if you break down, we need to see that you're broken down. So I just dealt with that. I had a truck that broke down in Jerome, Idaho, a load that I booked, and I had the driver send me the repair receipt from the first shop that he went to, and then I gave the location of from the ELD to the broker that we were at this second shop, and they were good with it because I was communicating. We have a history, we have a relationship. They know that I'm not just that guy that's going to say, "Oh yeah, it sucks to be broken down, doesn't it?" And then we also dealt with on this same particular. This was a load from hell. The interstate was shut down, so I would send the broker Google Maps shots of I-80 being shut down, and even show a news article or two. So I mean, communication is key, and that's what I do. I do it for my own truck, and I do it for the trucks that I dispatch.
So I'm going to show you, Steve. I'll do this. I'm going to put the camera in front so you can see I'm doing this. And I'm going to send this to show you how fast. And
Mhm.
there's two benefits to this.
Okay.
Hey, Steve, this is Rob. I was the driver on load ABC1234. Thank you very much for the business. I've got the POD here. I'm about to send it to you. Again, thanks again. If you have this load again, please give me a call or email. Talk to you soon. Let's go like this. Let's see how, I'll show you my speed of this. Rename, edit title. And I'll just email it to you. Copy. There it is, delivered to you. So go ahead and check your email and you can play it. Because as you're looking this up, here's the other benefit. This Loom, you can pay the yearly fee, which gives longer, and there's benefits to that. But the 5-minute video, here's the thing too. Imagine this little Loom video. You're at a shipper and the broker's like, hey, what's happening? Well, you could, if you're in a lineup of 10 trucks, pull out your camera, make a quick video. Hey, Steve, it's Rob. I'm the driver on this load. See here, there's 10 trucks ahead of me and there's 10 trucks behind. Pretty busy shipper. Some brokers won't even realize it.
There he is.
So click play. Oh, is it stuck? It was delayed. I didn't hear it, but see, when you played that video, I received a notification on my phone. Someone viewed your video.
Yeah.
So
I like Loom. You and I have been doing the Loom thing back and forth for
well, and
a
I've
minute.
used them for multiple things because on my phone, if I have technical problems with something on my TMS, I can take instead of just saying, "Hey, I got this problem," I make a video. I show specifically the tech support what it looks like, what's happening. I've used this video to train people when I have a freight auditor. So when I trained my freight auditor, I made videos. So this way I can show them step by step. They can watch, rewind, and go back and forth at their own pace. So again, it's just a simple free tool. If you have to, yeah, you could pay the bigger one. If you're someone with a carrier with multiple drivers, I would use Loom to build a database library for training, your safety videos, procedures, how you expect, you can make a video explaining the expectation on your PODs, how to get them signed step by step. If you have a TMS system where the drivers have to, scan the PODs into, you can make it step by step from your computer. You can make it from your phone. Super easy. And this way they have access, you can gain them access to it. And yeah, so it's works well. We're way overcomplicating trucking. I don't think so. You haven't been the old man. If you've never been a broker, if you've been a broker for more than 3 years, then you can set me in. You can set me straight. If you've never brokered a single load in your life, I'll disagree until you can show me otherwise.
Trucking with Diabetes. Good morning. That's also IE Cash is King.
There you
go.
But yeah, so that's it. I just wanted to come on and say that I try to give some insight and tips to how, if you truly want to find those loads that are not being posted, hopefully you got some of those.
Well, thanks for your time and input, Rob. We really, really appreciate you. I believe Don gave me $5 because I bring you on, and I believe you're going to be doing more stuff with DIY as well. So I thanks for coming in. I appreciate your input, and we will talk later.
Good. Have a good
So,
day, everyone.
all right, later. That was CDN. So we're gonna wrap this up. We didn't really get to the low board stuff, so we'll do that real quick. Just kind of show you where, it's Friday, so hopefully you got your load booked. This is one of those book ahead weeks. That seems to be working well. I actually got griped out at from one of my brokers because I kept giving them last minute stuff. I said only because I'm dealing with truck breakdowns and people call me at the last minute when they're desperate. So, but anyways, this is for van. Let's do reefer, and let's see. There you go. A little bit more green on that. Arizona's not too bad when it comes to reefer. Here's Tucson to Rotterdam, New York. That's paying average about 217 a mile. So, there's a few things. There's quite a few of those Rotterdam loads. So obviously Direct Connect's got that connection there. Let's see what their credit looks like. They're pre-approved for Thunder Funding. They're a TM member. They got an 82 credit score, 43 days to pay. They've got an A with Thunder, but they're at 40 days. So they're averaging about 40, 45 days to pay. So, and then there's this kind of graph shows the seasonality that Arizona probably has because it's produce. So, all kinds of things you can do. 48065 is the code if you want to try out this load board for free for a month, and then $35 a month to look at all the tools that we don't even tap into here. So, thanks for the education. Tip your host, Scallywags. Thank you, Trucking with Diabetes. Thanks you for the $5. Lance Calhoun's CDN always has helpful info. He can be. He's very intense. It's like I have to prepare for his phone call. It's like I can't call him because he's in Canada. So I'll text him like, "Hey, I don't think anything else is going on, so we can have a phone conversation," because it's always a longer, very detailed conversation. And so he's been a good friend. He's been a good supporter of the channel. He's always looking out for my best interest, like trucking's best interest, and the Snorelord YouTube channel's best interest. So I appreciate him very much. I appreciate all of you that have been in this chat. The numbers have been pretty good this week as far as live chat numbers, and I have some good things in the works. I have a couple of interviews coming up with some people on aspects of trucking that you may not have thought of, and then DIY have been collaborating here quite a bit. We've been doing the book reviews, and he's got a great channel, Cash is King, Trucking with Diabetes. Stuart's got a channel. Sterling's got a channel. He's the one that did the gift memberships. I appreciate you. If you have a channel, feel free to raise your hand and say, hey, and you can click on their name and you can probably find their channel. So CDN does not have a channel. He utilizes mine to get his information out there. So with that being said, it's been an okay week, not as frustrating as it was last week. So, that might be a sign that things could are getting better. And I will remind you guys that Mid America Truck Show is at the end of March, last weekend of March, and I plan on being there. Jeffrey Like plans on being there. Like Trucking, Thunder Funding, 123 Low Board. We missed the 123 Low Board people last year because of the Canadian vid laws. So, anyways, we look forward to seeing them too this year. So, but anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Enjoy your weekend. I might go live Saturday. It just depends. If I do, it might just be a guitar thing because sometimes I I just get tired of talking about trucking. So, um, oh, and RD's got a channel. He's into that conspiracy stuff. He's not talking trucking. So go check him out. He's been on fire with the shorts. His shorts are on fire. So his shorts are on fire. Strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Peace.